Greetings, this is Griff Roby, the Nostalgia Catholic, continuing my review of the Foundation books. I will now pick up the Foundation and Earth, which of course, as I said, picks up exactly right down to the minute where the Foundation's Edge left off. If you've seen that or read that book, you recall that our hero, Golan Trevize, and his buddy, Janov Balorat, are on Gaia, and Janov likes to stay with Bliss, and Trevize has just made this momentous decision. Should we go with the first Foundation model of just human history striving to move forward on its own? Should we go with a second Foundation view of things, where the human history is kind of massaged and helped along by the psychohistory of the second Foundation? Or should we turn the whole galaxy into a single organism, of which all of us would just be this little itty bitty parts, along with every other living thing, and even what's not alive, called Gaia? So he's made this decision, but he's got his doubts about that decision. Despite his supposed infallible ability to make a good decision, he still has his doubts. So, why would he have those doubts? Well, in the first book, it's kind of mentioned actually that what he did was kind of a provisional decision. He kind of felt that if he made either of the two choices he didn't make initially, he might create an irrevocable situation that would take away the three choices. So, if he just goes with the one that allows all three to continue along in parallel, such that later on he can think it through and say, okay, I've thought it through, I don't want to go with this one, I'll go with this one, or we'll go with this one, you see? So, but that's a provisional thing. He needs to know, is that really a good way to go? In Foundation and Earth, though, that's kind of written out. It's more like he made this decision, but he just doesn't trust himself, and he wants to do something about that. And he comes up with a rather interesting idea. Janov Balorat's supposed task, the excuse for which Mayor Brano was able to send Golan Trevize traversing all over the galaxy, so to speak, was to be looking for the planet of human origin. The archaeologists have been looking for that for centuries, but that had gotten lost sometime way back when. What's more interesting is when they start finding out that all references to this thing really have been deleted everywhere. It's gone. Where did it go? Who took it out? Why? You see, second Foundation, the first Foundation didn't even know this had happened. Second Foundation discovers this, and we didn't do it. And even Gaia's looking at it, well, we didn't do it. So now that becomes also the question of who did. Why is this question so big of a problem? So what we've got is Trevize, and Golan decides to go with him, and Bliss as well, as kind of a protector, all over the galaxy. And they still don't go to Trantor, but they do go to a number of other places. The first place they think of to go was the first of the settler planets, and they managed to get almost straight to it right away. Turns out the other councilman that Mayor Brano sent to follow him, Munli Kompor, is himself actually personally from this planet, which in another of his series, Asimov series, his robot novels, was known as Bailey World. That's a whole bailiwick, don't mind that pun. What's become of Bailey World? It's still a cold, weathery, rainy, miserable place. But it's become a full-blown civilization of sorts that are kind of conservative or kind of stilted and kind of formalized, but they have an existence, and it seems to be reasonable and legitimate and to some degree honorable. Except, of course, they want his ship. Gosh. And what does Golan do to do it? Well, he this gets, of course, one of the things that kind of ruins Asimov's later books. One of the things, in the earlier books, he kind of wanted to stay away from some of the more really, really intimate, personal, human stuff that you kind of have to be careful who gets what about this. You know what I mean? Age appropriateness and things of that nature. See, he just shied away from that stuff. He didn't even the earliest stories, he didn't even know about that. He didn't know much about girls, so you don't even have female characters for a long time, and so forth. And even in some of his books, he only brings this stuff in a little bit in a subtle and tasteful manner and so forth. Well, in the later novels, obviously people complain and say, "Yeah, come on, everybody's doing this now. You got to do it too." And he's feeling like, "Well, I bet I can outdo the rest." Sometimes the middle installment of The Gods Themselves has been kind of seen as his attempt to do this. He invents an alien world. He didn't have very many aliens. And then he also invents a world so fantastically different from humanity that you actually have 3 different genders and so forth, which was suitably alien. Okay, I guess you have to say he achieved that. Having achieved that, he should say, "There, I did my stint. Now just let me write how I really want to write it." So he has that Golan Trevize seduces the lady that's kind of in charge of Comparelli on the planet there, and deals with her. Kind of a mixture of both. I'll admit, there's some legitimate negotiations still going on, into allowing him to continue taking the ship to explore some other places. Somewhere along the line, he's finally picked up something else, the location of a few the original 50 worlds. So now it really starts tying in from that very first colonization, the one that you heard about in Caves of Steel, The Naked Sun, also the Red Queen's Race. It's also a background to his Lucky Star novels, incidentally, where Sirius and some other up to 50 worlds had been populated by these humans, colonized, and then they became their own nations, heavily dependent on robots, and somehow able to lengthen human lives into a few centuries, and so forth. So there had been this whole world. So he goes to one of the most famous of these, which, by the way, between Foundation's Edge and Foundation and Earth, he has written a novel set on a world, namely Aurora, which I guess was the first of the 50 worlds. That's the one, I guess, in Sirius. Sirius, I guess, is the Empire, or the star system. The planet's called Aurora. And the lady he first met on Solaria has, for whatever reason, migrated to Aurora, and now lives on Aurora. So it's kind of cool because her lifetime is so long that even though Elijah Bailey's long gone, she's still around. You see his ancestors found in Comparella. So that's kind of neat. Now we come to see what's that world like, and what it really ends up becoming in a way is almost like a travelogue of Asimov's universe more than anything else. If you're interested in that, which personally I was, I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, see what can become of the world so much later on, But beyond that, you always kind of know what happened next. What became of Aurora? You find out. Basically, as a culture, it's gone. Okay. They go to another planet go to Solaria. That one actually is still an ongoing community. Smaller. It just means that the individuals, about 1,200-ish or so, still alive. Now just each have much larger estates. They own even more robots per individual than ever before, than they did in Elijah Bailey's day. But life pretty much just goes on. They've done a few other things now. They completely clone themselves. They don't have to get near each other in any way whatsoever on any occasion. They can be just totally these lone beings. And they even pick up a person from there who goes along with them, a child that would have been killed in their society because it wasn't mature. And I would have to say it because it's not really a male or female creature. It's transcended that whole thing. It's just, I guess, a personal it. So who now becomes Fallum is the name that it has. So now you've got Fabiz, Laura, and Bliss, and now Fallum continuing on their explorations. Well, the next planet they go to, I have to look this up because it's kind of, this doesn't seem to have it. It's Melpomene. Melpomene is, we don't know a thing about it. He finds it was one of the 50, never been named before. But something has ripped the atmosphere clean away from it. I honestly, have you ever read H.G. Wells from Earth? I remember a guy invents this thing called cavorite, and he's thinking, yeah, see, it'll stop gravity, so if something's on top of it, it'll just float upward. And he finally makes the cavorite, and suddenly what happens is because there's no gravity, the air on top of it falls upward, which creates a vacuum, which sucks more air in, which then shoots upward, and you get this huge vortex that gets created until luckily whatever was holding it down to the ground loses hold of it and the thing flies off into outer space. Or else you'd have had a permanent, siphon, geyser of air leaving Earth, and and I always kind of wonder, is this a planet where somebody invented cavorite and the atmosphere just went off into space like that? I don't know. Anyway, the atmosphere is gone on this planet, which allows things to be pretty well preserved, including how luckily he finds it so promptly, some sort of shrine to all the 50 worlds containing the galactic coordinates of each of the 50. And then comes the next part. He says, well, you know what? This was a very, very initial, I kind of like the way he does this. This was an initial colonization of the galaxy, so you could kind of map them in a very roughly, spherical configuration. They're going to be kind of near the original Earth. You see? Well, in Sirius Sector, maybe Sol or 61 Cygni were kind of high on the list of possibilities in Lord Darwin's time, from way back in the old Foundation days of Salvor Hardin and so forth. So that was one of the ideas. Maybe it's a good one. I'm kind of surprised they never. I mean, the planet, the sun that it of course ultimately goes to is the one called Sol, S-O-L. And I've always kind of wondered, they kind of speculate that it went into hyperspace. That's one of the stories. It doesn't exist anymore. It vanished into hyperspace. What? Like an immortal soul pun into into an afterlife. And they might see that as etymologically what was meant when it's not. But you don't know that umpity tens of thousands of years later on. Could have been cute, but he didn't do that one, and that's just swell maybe. But it's just one of those kinds of things you think about afterward. I didn't. He finds Alpha Centauri, or New Earth, planet. It's almost entirely an ocean, except for this one teeny tiny little island with a few little people living there, and that's kind of interesting. Another thing is that everywhere he goes, it's like his life is in danger. Pomperellin, they're ready to kill him to take his ship. Aurora becomes very dangerous. Solaria, the robots don't even recognize him as a human being, and so won't protect him the way a robot should. And then on this other planet, it turns out to be this weird, freaky moss that grows in a vacuum, and it's pretty nasty stuff too. And finally, they get to Alpha Centauri, and again, you've got basically some last group of immigrants from Earth having been some ancient time relocated to this planet kind of nearby, and that was the end of it. which suggests something else. Earth is no longer habitable. And indeed, when we finally get to Earth, it is no longer. That's kind of a disappointment. We're looking for Earth, and when we get there, we can't even land on it because there's just too much radioactivity. Which, okay, I'm not sure how that would happen scientifically. And maybe that gets to another thing. Oh, but except one thing. What's really being hidden by all this isn't the planet Earth, but rather its moon. Because the moon now has become where a very important robot resides. I'll leave it at that. Now, that much said, going through all these adventures finally thinks, okay, I think I understand now why I chose what I chose. I don't know that the reason really emerges very clearly. He's made one choice. Fallon probably has made a choice. It's kind of left rather ambiguous what's going to happen next. But looking back on this, I can also see why I don't care for too much the gay end solution myself. Why I don't like the gay end solution. And I realize now what it is. Asimov would write hard science fiction. Psychohistory is something that, maybe one day theoretically could exist. Perhaps it will someday be a way that someone could mathematize sociology to a degree that you could actually use it to get a sense of where history is going and what small tweaks here and there might make things go a whole lot smoother for all concerned. Which to me sounds like a great thing. And so that's what made the original, you're preserving knowledge. The encyclopedia was a great idea. Advancing technology, that's also a great idea. You're living with this continual hope of some manifest destiny. That's a good and powerful thing too. And finally, you have somewhere hidden off in the side somewhere the second foundation, a bunch of psychohistorians who know all the mathematics of all this stuff. See, and they're able to monitor everything that's going on and make whatever little tiny tweaks are needed and make sure things stay on course and so on. But then, we get the mule and his mental powers. And then it turns out the second foundationers have mental powers. ESP, if there's anything Asimov did, that already gets kind of, okay. But it's kind of, Then we get, there's nothing scientific about it. Psychohistory is science. Or at least scientific, really scientific sounding. It could maybe theoretically someday really exist as science. Maybe. But everybody, all beings and all matter for that matter becoming this one gigantic human, non-human galactic being of some weird sort would be most charitably described as pure mysticism. And I don't think his mysticism, is any more desirable now, even as described and chosen and so forth, or at least considered by Treves, as it was, when it meant growing green fuzz out of your eyeballs because you're, a misbegotten missionary or green patches. Anyway, it's a somewhat unsatisfying conclusion, in my opinion. It's obviously meant to have a sequel, but he never went beyond this. He had no idea where to go from there. There's still another 500 years of the Selden plan. One can definitely think of ways that one could have gone, could have had, at some point, people, it wasn't known that the second foundation wasn't physically at the other end of the galaxy doing the same thing at first. It's only because of the whole thing with the mule that what it really was came out. What if it hadn't come out? What if, some 5, 6, 7, 800 years later, here's the foundation, becoming really huge and powerful, and starting to wonder, wait a minute, wasn't there another foundation at the other end of the galaxy? How come we haven't met up with them yet? I don't know what was planned there. That could be the story. you know, or as you get closer to being a full galactic empire, again, there's always the questions of there's always going to be lots and lots of various challenges in various worlds. I mean, you could have a whole big series based on that, you know, and you could have some serious challenges inside Foundation, you know, different parties and groups trying to, you know, gain in a session. Well, I don't know. It seems to me there's a lot to choose from in there, but Asimov was just kind of he didn't know what to do next as far as going forwards. Next, we'll talk about what he does going backwards.